Running back is arguably the most important position when it comes to fantasy football. The position just isn't as deep as the wide receiver position. That's why during your fantasy football drafts, you need to be focused on finding those league-winning running backs. Now, I could just sit here today and spit some facts on a few players and then call it a day, but I really want to do more than that. I want to give you, the viewer, some of the insight on how I go about finding league-winning running backs each and every year. Now, if you've been here for any length of time, you know I like a few things. One is math. The other is probabilities. I love to play the probabilities. And I say that because if you're being honest with yourself, there's a lot of luck that goes into fantasy football, because I really want to set myself up to have the best possible chances at drafting the right draft picks in the right rounds. It's kind of like playing the lottery, right? If you buy one ticket, your chance next to none. If you buy a butt ton of tickets, you have a better chance at winning something. So if you're ready to be damn mind blown here today, do me a favor and hit the like button, and I'll tell you why. Because if this video can get over 1,500 likes, I'm giving away an autographed Davante Adams mini helmet, the Salute to Service mini helmet here. You can see the signature right on the helmet. So if we can get 1,500 likes or more on this video, I'm going to pick a random commenter from down below, and I'm just going to give them that for free. So hit the like button, leave your comments below, and let's dive into today's show. And I want to start off by defining what is a league-winning running back. So many people want to look at their picks in the first couple of rounds 1 and 2, and call those players a league winner if they pop off. But they really aren't. They were drafted super high, which means they have high expectations. They're supposed to score a lot of points for your fantasy football team. In my opinion, a league winner is a guy that you get a little bit later that massively outproduces expectations and greatly boosts the production of your fantasy team. So today we're going to look at a little bit of history, because history is the best indicator for what we could see going forward. So if we can find the probability that has the greatest chance of landing a league-winning running back, we can kind of narrow down our list of running backs here in 2024 that kind of fall into that category. If you understand what I'm talking about, do me a favor, leave hashtag same page down below in the comment section so I know you understand. Now, on average, each and every year, there are 5 running backs that are drafted outside of the second round that still finish top 12 at the position. So let's go ahead and let's go look at the past 4 years. Let's go back to 2020. And when we do that, the first thing you notice is there's a lot of names that really aren't a thing anymore. So the final top 12 running backs in 2020 were Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Zeke Elliott, and Antonio Gibson. Now you can also see that there were 5 running backs that year that were drafted after the second round that still finished top 12, like David Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson. That was the year where, if you were a member of the channel, we told you about James Robinson in the offseason. A lot of people benefited from that. But then we move on to 2021, and here's where we had the top 12 finishers of Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, James Conner, Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, Cordero Patterson, Antonio Gibson, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones. In 2021, there were 3 running backs that were drafted outside of the second round that finished inside the top 12. It was James Conner, Leonard Fournette, and Cordero Patterson. Now we fast forward to 2022. The top 12 finishers: Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, and Joe Mixon. Now in 2022, there were 4 running backs that were drafted outside of the second round that finished top 12. Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams, and Ramondre Stevenson. Then we go on to last year, where we had a whopping, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running backs that were drafted outside the second round that finished top 12, the most in recent history. The final finishers were Christian McCaffrey, Raheem Mostert, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Kyron Williams, Rashad White, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, and Saquon Barkley. Now, after going through all of that, you will notice that 28 of the 48 top 12 running backs over the last 4 seasons were all drafted inside the top 2 rounds and then finished inside the top 12. So you will hear all the time on not just fantasy football YouTube, but in articles how running backs, they just bust too early. You don't want running backs early. All they do is bust. 28 of 48 have not over the last 4 seasons, so that is not at all true. But remember, the purpose of this show, we're not worried about the top 2 rounds. Rounds 1 and 2 here mean absolutely nothing today. So here's where we start getting into a little bit of percentages and probabilities. If we do that with the remaining 20 running backs who finished inside the top 12 over the last 4 years, here is the rounds in which they were drafted. 25% of them in rounds 3 and 4. 45% of them in rounds 5 to 8, 10% of them in rounds 9 through 12, and then another 20% after round 13. So this right here tells me that I really need to focus on rounds 5 through 8 because that is where the highest probability of finding a league-winning running back is. So now what do? Well, let's go to the consensus ADP and see what running backs are currently going in that round 5 to 8 range, and there are 17 of them. It's Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Najee Harris, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren, Nick Chubb, Devin Singletary, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr., and Javonte Williams. Now, if you remember earlier on, I said on average there are 5 running backs after round 2 that finish in the top 12 each and every year. Well, if rounds 5 through 8 produced almost 50% of those, theoretically, that means that out of this list that is on the screen right now, 2 to 3 of these guys could be potential league-winning running backs. So we've already narrowed down a huge chunk of names, but now let's take a look at this season and really realistically determine who has the best chance here. Now, on average, the running back 12 overall on the season scores 206 fantasy points per year in half PPR scoring. That means that a running back is going to need right around 1,300 total yards, 9 total touchdowns, and at least 40 receptions to finish inside the top 12. Now, typically, the running backs in the NFL average right around 5 yards per touch. So in order for them to hit 1,300 total yards, they're going to need around 260 total touches to get there. When we have this list on the screen, are there any running backs that we see that could have trouble hitting that 260 touch number? And honestly, yeah, there's quite a few. The first one is Raheem Mostert, and I love the guy. I love his price tag, but he's in a 3-way backfield split, and his career high in touches is only 234. What about Zach Moss? He's never been the guy all season long. He's struggled to stay healthy at times. Plus, we love Chase Brown in that backfield as well. What about Jalen Warren? Not taking anything away from the guy, but his career high is 210 touches a season, and Najee Harris is still going to get a chunk of volume in this offense. What about Nick Chubb? Y'all know I love Nick Chubb, but he's coming off a serious injury. Is he going to hit 260 touches? It's going to be tough. Devin Singletary, his career high is 246, and no one expects the New York Giants to be some big-time running team this year. What about Jonathan Brooks? He's coming off an injury into his rookie year to a team that's not great. Austin Eckler, sure, he's seen this number before, but now he's going to have a lesser role in Washington with a split backfield with the next guy we can talk about, which is Brian Robinson. Sure, he's going to get the bulk of the carries on early downs, but Austin Eckler is going to have a role, and that's going to eat into the total touches that each one of these guys see. And then Javonte Williams. This team is just going to have bad quarterback play all year long. They're going to be trailing. They're not going to be able to run much. And it's not like Javonte Williams is the only guy in this backfield. 260 may be a little bit high for him. So let's go ahead and remove those guys since we think it's going to be hard for them to get that type of volume. That leaves us a list with these 8 running backs: Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Najee Harris, and Tony Pollard. Now, obviously, we want a couple studs still in the first couple of rounds, but after that, I'm trying to get 1, if not 2 of these guys that are left on the list, because now that we've narrowed it down, we kind of have an idea of which guys to take a stab on. Now, in case you're wondering, this is how I currently have these running backs ranked for this season, even though they're all pretty close to each other. It goes Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Zamir White, and DeAndre Swift. I love that Tony Pollard is going to have a quote-unquote lesser role this year in Tennessee. Sure, he's gonna split with Tajay Spears, but we've seen Tony Pollard thrive in a little bit of a lesser role. Aaron Jones, everyone knows this with Aaron Jones. If he's healthy and he's on the field, he's probably going to be a top 12 running back as is. James Conner has a great opportunity for massive volume this year, but can he stay healthy? Because if he dwindles as the season progresses, we could start seeing more rookie running back Trey Benson. Ramondre Stevenson season, he just got paid in New England. The problem is, we have no idea how good New England is going to be. Are they going to be able to run the ball? Are we going to see a ton of checkdowns to Ramondre Stevenson? Does he lose some work to Antonio Gibson out of this backfield? Just a lot of questions. Najee Harris, honestly, I made an analogy for Najee Harris a couple weeks ago where I compared him to vanilla ice cream. It's boring, it doesn't excite you, but you put it on top of a damn warm brownie, and it's goated. Najee Harris has a chance to put up some decent fantasy numbers this year, even though everyone hates him. David Montgomery, I mean, yeah, he's splitting with Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's on one of the best overall offenses in the league, and you know he's going to get 15 touches a week. Zamir White, I know Kyle doesn't love Zamir White, and honestly, I don't love him either, but in my opinion, he is still massively underrated. We've seen a very small sample size of what he could do all season long, and Alexander Mattison has disappointed numerous times throughout his NFL career. Zamir White may not get a ton of touchdown opportunities in this offense, but could see some decent volume, and then DeAndre Swift in Chicago. When he's healthy and he touches the football, he's electric. We know this Chicago offense is going to be better this year than it has been in years past, which means more touchdown opportunities. The biggest issue here is he's in a crowded backfield, and we really can't rely on him getting all the goal line touches. That and the guy's dealt with quite a few injuries in his past as well. But the whole purpose of today's show is just to unlock your mind, look at things a little bit differently. Take a systematic approach when you're trying to determine what players do you need to go after when all the top names are off the board. Now that I've kind of shown you how to do that, you can go back and look at all the other running backs in the other rounds and really determine which guys do you need to go after. Now, if you're out there and you enjoy learning how to do new things in fantasy football, don't forget, hit the like button right now, because as soon as we hit 1,500 likes, I'm giving away this signed Davante Adams mini helmet. But I also want to know what you think down below in the comment section. Which one of these running backs that we talked about today can you see yourself targeting in your fantasy football drafts? Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here today. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day though, and then most importantly, above everything else, do your part to make the world a better place.